Okay, so here is the power supply that was on the bench, and as you can see, it's just a little piece of shit power supply. I mean, it really is. This switch that you may or may not be able to see is going to be used with this cord, possibly, I don't know yet for sure, on the lamp. But at that point, that's where we're at. So, this power supply, I'm going to hook up the meter to it real quick. This power supply is supposed to give me up to 15 something. I don't remember exactly. Now a lot of that could be my fault, so I'm not going to blame it all on the power supply. I didn't have the rheostat here that I really needed, so this does not give me the control that I really need to adjust this thing properly, because it's not the right one, the variable control I have here. So I can't blame all that on the power supply, but what I'm going to do is disconnect some of that, and that's what I'm going to do now, and just kind of jump start it. Let me see here. What do I need? I need a little bit. You know what? These will work. I think they're going to work. Probably not. Okay. Well, they would work, but the thing is, I cut the screws. So when I cut the screws, I ruined the end. Now the nuts are still good, the lock washers are still good, but the screws are no good because I'll never get them to go back on. So, because they were cut, which would be a pain in the ass. It wouldn't be worth the time. Alright, so this is what we have here. So now what I'm going to do is just cut those off. See if I can find the wire strippers. There we are. Now I'll keep this because this, if I remember right, this was a volume control. But I don't remember, to be honest with you. Here we go. I should just unplug it so I don't have to worry about getting zapped because it is hooked up to 110. Okay. Now this originally was a variable control here. Apparently at one time I had this whole thing apart. Holy mackerel Amy. Okay. So now, let's put that there, and we're going to jump some of these wires together. That could have been part of the problem right there. That's not very stable. It's not very stable. Bad solder. So if I take this one, you go to here with it. Nada. If I go to here with it, now this is the one that's not very stable. Oh, you think maybe I should turn it on? Hello? Duh. Alright, this is the low voltage side. This is the common input, and this is the high voltage. So low voltage, it's at 8.2 watts, or volts rather. If I go over here, this side brings me up to 16, which is okay as well. 16 volts is not bad. You can run, most of the time, you can run a 12 volt system on 16 volts. Alright, so that's where we're at with that. Okay, and with doing nothing, we've got voltage. So let me turn that off and let me unplug it because I got to open it. Okay. I mean, it's still not a bad power supply. It's just one that I wouldn't want to push, if you know what I mean. You push it and you're liable to have problems with it. It's always good to have this stuff laying around. Now this isn't Starboard, but it's close to it. Home Depot sells it. They have different sizes. You know, like 6-inch, 8-inch, 12-inch. I usually go for the 12, which is not quite 12, by 8, and I, by half, and I just keep it around because it's non-conductive, so it's good to have around, and it doesn't rust or rot. Now Starboard is a little better than that. We use that on marinas if you're going to redo a seat and stuff like that. But Starboard is expensive. This stuff, if I remember right, I think it cost me, oh, I couldn't tell you. I think it was less than 20 bucks for the sheet, or for the piece. They do sell a sheet, which I'm thinking about getting, but it wasn't ½ inch. You only had a 1/4 inch. It was 4 foot by 8 foot, and it was 96 bucks. Now, that's okay, but I would prefer to have a ½ inch. Alright, so now we got to figure out how the hell I took this thing apart last time. Oh, here we are. Okay. Now what did I just do with the screwdriver? Oh, it's right in front of me. It's a little damp out today. It's chilly. I got the heat on. The air conditioner, the reverse cycle stuff up here. So I was looking at a new generator. I got to call up Generac today because I was looking at, I have a Generac now, but they have a nice unit for, I think it was 20, well, they had 2 units that I was looking at. One was $2,042. The other one was the exact same voltage, but it was something like 2,600. And I'm thinking, okay, now what is the difference there? You know, I don't need a bunch of circuits, meaning a bunch of plugs, because I tie it right in to the main. You know, I'm not plugging into it. So that reminds me too, last night, it was late, I was getting ready to shut down. It must have been, well, I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up, it must have been about 2 o'clock, getting ready to turn the computer off because I fell asleep with it on. And a video caught my eye about how to judge or pick the right generator for your house with the using the voltages and the amperages and the wattage and all that kind of stuff. And the channel was, we kept calling himself Doc. I really don't remember. I listened to it briefly and he was pissing me off. Now he was somewhat right in some things, but he was just doing so much babbling on the other things that he was screwing everything up, and he had you looking in ways that you shouldn't have been looking. You know, he's telling you how he's prepared, and meanwhile he's running. He's got a one of those Tupperware containers. Well, not a Tupperware container, but you know those big containers. I use them. They sell them at Walmart. You know, they're, you know, yay, and with the snap top. But he's got one of those filled with extension cords and 3-way and 6-way plugs. So, you know, you don't want to start running extension cords through your whole house. I mean, that's crazy. You know, I mean, if that's what you're going to do and that's your plan, well, that's fine. But if you think about it, if you got to run that many cords, you know, why don't you just tie it into the main? You know? Now, if you can't do it yourself, I can understand it. If you're a little bit low or limited on funds, I can understand it. You know, but yeah, I mean, that's something that personally I wouldn't want to do. Now, on the other side of the coin, he started talking about heat and the furnace and cooking and all that, and how he has control of all this just by plugging it in or unplugging it, you know, which is okay. But he, for the length of time that he put into explaining this, he could have done a better job. No, I understand he was trying. You know, I mean, and we all try. We're not all perfect. Yeah. But you want to make sure that you don't mislead somebody either. You know, that's going to cause somebody to lose their house or their life. So you want to try to keep things in perspective. Now, for instance, he said he had a 5200, which is enough for him to run the whole house. Well, that can be. However, when you're talking about running your whole house, is your house have electric heat? Does it have an electric stove? Your hot water tank, is that electric? Because these are things you have to think about. Because if so, that little 5200 is not going to do it. You're going to turn on, or the heat's going to kick on in the wintertime, or you're going to start to light up the stove, or, you know, turn the stove on, it's electric, or your hot water tank kicks on, and the next thing you know, your generator's stepping down, shutting down, or blowing something up because whatever it is isn't getting the voltage that it needs. So, you know, here he is talking about it, which is good, but he's not explaining it. Now with me, for instance, I have, or we have, gas. We had electric in the condo. And the condo was a small condo. It was actually a condo that we had bought just for me to recuperate after the back surgery, and so we weren't living on the boat. We only kept it for a little while and we sold it. And that had electric heat and electric hot water. So when I hooked up the generator that's out there, the little 2800, I made that so it was going to be plug-in with extension cords, like what he had done. Because when you plugged it in, I had built the cord with an electrical box, and I used a 30 amp cord with a 30 amp plug, a lock plug, and I had a 8-banger box that I put together. So if I wanted to plug the TV in, I could. If I wanted to do the coffee pot, we could. You follow? The microwave, right, the small one, because we had 2 of them, the small one, we could. You know, lamps, a couple lamps throughout the house, we could. Did we want to have the lamps, the TV going and plug in the coffee pot and the microwave? No. Yeah, you know, not plug it in, but not turn it on. You know, so you have to kind of look at these things. And that's when I said, you know, if we ever get a house again, which we do, that I was going to get the right size to do the whole house, wire it in, so I don't have to worry about it. Now the only thing we got to make sure we worry about, because we haven't got an automatic safety switch or a safety shut-off. So I have it written down, so if the wife has to do it, she can. Before you start the generator, and well, you can start the generator, but before you flip the breaker on, make sure you flip off the main breaker. Step 1, start the generator. Step 2, shut off the main. Clunk. You follow me? Step 3, turn on the generator breaker, because that feeds the whole box. I don't want to backfeed into the lines out there on the street and kill somebody that's working on the lines. I don't want to overwork my generator and start powering up the whole neighborhood and burn my generator up. Therefore, burn that up, and half of the equipment that's plugged into it will burn up. I had 2 ice makers blow up or burn up on the boat because the dock didn't have enough amperage. It was showing 110 volt, but it didn't have the amps. 2 ice makers. All right, you know, they were not the little, they're big ice makers. You know, and they burnt up because it didn't have the amperage. Well, you got 110 volts. I do, but you don't have the amperage. You're losing it in that cord. You know, I mean, you know, the cord that they were using to power me up was not sufficient enough for the length of the cord that they were using. The longer the cord, the heavier it has to get. But meanwhile, this guy, even though I know he meant well, if I did what he was telling me to do, because he wasn't step by step in it, he was all over the place, and a lot of things he was combining the wrong way, I would have blown something up if I had done that. So meanwhile, where I was going here is, I think this, no, that's not, that's cleaner. Okay, let me put this up here. I'm thinking about buying another generator, and the one that I have out there now I will keep as a backup. I'm looking for, oh, I think this is it. No, that's not it, that's empty. Okay guys, oh, here it is. Flux. I gotta call them up because I'm looking at one of them that they have, which is the, I think it's 11,000. But they have 2 of them, and there's a $400 or a $600 difference. And I want to know what it is, because I don't need, like I say, all those plugs. I'm not going to be plugging in 16 extension cords. So I'm going to call them up and find out. And then I want to find out how hard is it to convert to natural gas. because I don't want to do that. Hold on a minute, guys. Where the hell did I? Oh, here it is. I don't want to contaminate the alcohol with a brush. There. I gotta get a little squeeze bottle for it. Because I'm thinking about just having it tied up to natural gas. This here way, once a week, it'll run and give itself a test, auto start, you know, run, test itself, and then shut down. And I don't have to worry about putting fuel in it or the fuel going bad and stabilizer and all that. And put that over there for now. And at that point, it's done, you know. When it starts, it automatically shuts the main power off before it even starts. Does everything it has to do. And we have no worries. So that's what I'm thinking about at this point. Pair of glasses. Let's see here. Good. Good. These things come in handy. Actually, I have two kinds. These are adjustable. These you have to take this out and replace it with a different one. It comes with like 5. Anyway, and then I'll keep this one with the plug on it the way I have it. This one's hooked up, and outside there's a 50 amp waterproof outdoor plug. And then I have an 8-foot cord that's also a 50 amp cord that plugs into the 220 on this generator. So I plug into the generator, I plug into the side of the house with that 8-foot cord, which is, like I say, 50 amp. I start the generator, I go downstairs, I shut off the main, I turn the generator breaker on, and now I got 220 going into it. So because that's, even though it's somewhat permanently connected to the house, it's not. So as a backup generator, if the other one ever were to go bad, do I need it? Is it a redundancy? Yeah, but you know what? When you're used to having power, you know, you know, and you know that you can, and if you don't, it's just because of you're ignorant, or not so much ignorant, but because you didn't understand or didn't know. Let's put it that way. You know, so at that point, it doesn't hurt to have it. So if one fails, I just got to roll the other one out, plug it in, shut the other one down, and start it up like I normally do. Makes sense, no? Now that other stuff that I just used, this flux, did not remind me of flux. Now let me smell it. Yeah, it's flux. Okay. It really didn't smell like it, or act like it. Not so much smell like it, but it didn't act like it. I had the container marked, but this stuff wears off, you know, even permanent marker. Alright, so let's put a little flux on this. Why does that one keep coming loose? That's going to drive me nuts. This one's spinning again. You know what? We're going to take it right out of there and find out why. That should not be doing that. That tells me we may have a broken, we do. We have a broken foil. This trace is broken away from, the center was broken away from the trace. That was the only reason why we're going to be doing that. So we're going to run a jumper. So I'm going to scrape off some of this coating on the trays. So I left a comment on that dock video to see, and it wasn't, you know, a cocky comment by no means. I don't ever mean to sound cocky, and if I do, I don't really mean it. It just happened to have come out that way. The only time I'll get cocky is if it's a troll. But even then, I don't usually let it bother me, and I kill them with kindness. And I'll even go to their channel and sub them. And usually that's after I tell them how their parents must be proud of them. Alright, I need a little piece of wire. I want to run it across. I guess I can use the same wire. Now this wire is a little heavy, but you know what? Let's do it anyway. No, I'm not going to use that one. Let me see here. Wire. I want red, but I want... There we go. So meanwhile, Lucky 24 is going for his general, which would be good. He missed, apparently, the option of getting to the last testing. Now, come on. What is this? Oh, it's all hollow. That's what it was. There we go. Is that enough? No, it's not going to be. See, when it comes to getting a ham ticket, they're easy. You know, once you find a place that's giving them, but they don't give them all the time. You know, clubs usually give them out, you know, to for good, you know, like relations. So, yeah, the club may do one every quarter. This wire is actually going to be a little too thin, but no, I don't want to use that. If I use that, what's going to happen is, if it burns or pops like a fuse, because it's too thin, I'm going to have to redo and take it all apart again. And I do not plan on doing that. So let me find my little roll of wire. I know I have rolls of wire. I just don't know. Oh, there it is. Good. Excellent. Here we go. Well, like I say, when you're going for your ham ticket, you find a club, a ham club in your area. And you know, you look it up. 2-meter clubs. 2-meter ham club. Or anything like that. Ham, you know, ham radio. Or call, or go to the ARRL website. And there's always somebody there that'll help you. But if you miss one, you gotta wait for the next one, whenever that may be. Now you can go to another club if there's another club holding one that's, you know, nearby. What? Oh, the mailman? Alright, Tuck. You know, but you still have to sign in, you have to get a hold of them. You know, do you have room? Tuck, it's okay, buddy. I don't know what it is with the mail truck. Is that a mail truck? Hold on, guys. Sorry guys, it was a mail truck. So meanwhile, as I was saying, before the little Tucker interrupted me, you know, you have to see if they have room, because, you know, some will only allow so many in a class, or in a, not so much the class, but, you know, in the test, you know, for size wise. So you gotta kind of find the right one at the right time. Now the phone's going to drive me nuts. Bam! I got this app on the phone that if it's spam, it tells me, which is nice. Alright, so we're going to go right across this lead right here, which you're probably not seeing. You see that? Yeah, you might see it. Again, I got sidetracked, but again, Lucky 24 is going to be going for his general. I think I heard him say that he has his tech. And the tech allows you to get on 2 meter, 440, you know, some of those bands, you know, 1200s. I think it lets you on 1200. But your HF, which is a whole other animal, you can't get on that unless you have your general. And that's what he wanted to go for next. And he missed out on the last one, even though he was signed up for it. Apparently something came up. You know, ham radio to certain people can become more addictive than YouTube. Oh yeah. For sure. What's nice about it too is when the space station and things like that circle around, you can talk to them. They talk to you. They send pictures. They have what they call slow scan TV. I mean, it's slow, but you can see actual live pictures. You know, as they're moving. But again, it's slow. You can actually see it going down. But it can be fun. Yeah, and if you like, and you're curious and you like to fool around, yeah, it's fun. I mean, you know, look at me. How many times have I taken just a piece of metal and made an antenna out of it? You know, to see, okay, does it work better? Am I getting better distance with it? It becomes a challenge, you know, because you want to try to get further, and you want to do it within certain guidelines. You know, you just don't want to, you know, go with a higher power radio or things. You want to start figuring out where is it going to work best. Once I find what antenna I designed for my area, now they sell antennas, you don't have to build them. But once you find out what antenna works best for your area, then you start getting into, okay, what radio, the power, you know, and things like that. Do I want a directional? Do I want an omnidirectional? You know, as far as antennas go, directional meaning it shoots it just straight out like a beam. Omni meaning it gives you like a 360. You know, what's going to be best for the space that I have? You know, you may not have a lot of land that you can deal with, so you may have to use trees. You know, as long as your trees are not over power lines and you're not affecting your neighbors, you know, you can string it from any tree. And as a rule, it doesn't interfere with TV, like, you know, the old CBs used to be. TVI. Okay, so now we have our 3 wires that are soldered in nicely. Now let's get this on. This goes up against the frame because these ICs get hot, so the frame acts as a heat sink. And this is the back piece to help hold both of them on at the same time, and locks right in and does a nicey job. If you can get your big ass hands in there. Just recently, well, I don't know how recent, on amateur radio, they started. There's something out there now called DMR. I think it's digital mobile radio. I'm not positive, so don't quote me on that. But a lot of people are liking it because you just key up and talk, and you can talk anywhere just about around the country with a 5-watt handheld radio, and it's like talking crystal clear on a telephone. Well, some like it because, you know, they're talking to people that they normally wouldn't talk to, you know, and it's new. But some of us, now me, I don't care one way or another. I mean, I like it, but there's no challenge in it, and that's what I don't like about it. You know, you get on HF, and to talk to that same person, I may have to go through a song and a dance, you know, or move an antenna, or add power, or make another antenna. You know, that's the challenge in it. You know, that's the fun in it. So, all right, now what screws? I think these are the screws I need for this. Oh, no, they're not. These are the ones. These are the ones. These ones. These ones. So, I have 2 DMR radios here. One of them is completely programmed. A friend of mine programmed it for me. The other one, it's not programmed, and I'm trying to figure out how to program it because it came out when I was not on the air, so I didn't have a chance to grow with it. So it's, I mean, like, it's like new to me completely, and now that I'm older, it takes a little bit more time for me to kind of like get into it and understand it, and it's driving me nuts. It really is. Because I don't really know what I'm doing with it. So I have to find somebody to actually show me what it's all about and how to get into the programming of it. So now, I don't know if you know Ron or not, but 741, he's a ham radio operator. He's here in Connecticut. He's up the road a piece. He's about, I'm thinking about 40 minutes from here. I'm about, well, he used to work in a little town called Northford, or North Branford. I think it was Northford, actually. And I'm about maybe 10 minutes from where he used to work. But a couple of weeks ago, he had said that maybe, you know, the end of the month, he can stop down and hang out for a few minutes, see the shack, you know, me in the shop. You know, they call them ham shacks. You know, my radio equipment, things like that, and give me a hand. That'd be great. You know, I says, you know, but you know, at your convenience. I don't want you to feel obligated that you have to. Don't keep it on your mind that I got to get down and see him. I got to get down and see him. Yeah. Now he did say there's a ham fest coming up this month in Meriden. Now Meriden is not that far from here, about a half an hour. My kid lives in Meriden. And I haven't been to a ham fest, oh Jesus, I would probably venture to say 35 years, 40 years. What a ham fest is, it's like, you know, you kind of like meat, but there's a lot of vendors that set up. So there's, you know, it's like a big old ham flea market with new and old stuff. You have to watch it though, because sometimes ham radio operators can be devious. Yeah, they may have bought something 50 years ago that isn't worth anything nowadays, but there may be that one person that needs it for a part, or you know, restore it or whatever. And even though it's only worth scrap, you know, meaning you know, 10, 15 bucks, that type of thing, these guys don't want to get rid of it, and well, they don't want to give it away, in their opinion. You know, they're asking, you know, 100 bucks for something that's worth 10, you know, that type of thing. So, and then some of them will tell you, oh, it works fine, and it doesn't. Oh, the only reason why I'm getting rid of it is because I want to get something newer, or I'm getting out of ham radio. And the only reason why they're getting rid of it is because it probably doesn't work and you can't figure out the problem. I mean, so you really have to pay attention. If they have no way of showing you that it works, you really don't want to buy it because you don't know. Alright, so now the time has come for me to plug this in and see. Now, for the most part, ham radio operators are decent, but there's always that group in anything, you know, even with firearms, there's always that group that's going to be a pain in the ass and lie their teeth off because they got stuck with a piece of shit and they want to get out of it, so they'll stick you with it. Tell you how great it is. But that's what the ham fest is. You meet people, you run into people that are, involved in the same hobbies, you know, doing the same thing, you know, and sometimes you get some decent deals, you know, and you can have a good time. It's almost like computers. I don't know if they do that anymore, but I remember in the mid to late 90s, they used to have these little computer. Am I full? No, I guess not. There was something saying that, something there. Maybe the battery's going dead. Let me look. Ah, the battery's going dead. Hold on, guys. Alright, so, but with computers, for instance, they used to have these at different, hotels. They would have these, I don't know what they call them, but, computers. These computer shows or whatever. And you go to these computer shows, and there's all kinds of vendors selling new stuff, used stuff. There's private individuals that have a table like a flea market, and they're selling stuff. And sometimes you get, some good deals out of them. Alright, so right now this is showing 7.8 volts. So let me get a jumper and find out what this will give me if I jump some of these together, now that I know I got good connections. So let's go from this one to this one. 15. No, let's go to stable. Hold on. Alright, 16 volts. That's good. What's this one going to give me? This is probably going to give me the same. No, that's going to give me 8. Okay, that gives me the same as that one. So what's this going to give me? This is, I got two of these are about the same. So all I need to do is change one. 16. Okay, so if I put those two together, I got 16. If I put these two together, I got 8. And if I put these two together, I got 16. So 16, 16, eight. Okay. So the center being the common denominator here. So if I did have the right variable, the center is the one that I'd be starting with and switching back. Now what I can do now is I can just put a switch on this. One way is 8, the other way is 16, and I don't have to worry about it. And 16 volts, like I said, on a 9 volt or on a 12 or volt system, it's actually not going to make a difference, because anything that takes 12, as a rule, I don't want to tell you it's going to, but as a rule, should take 16. I mean, you got to look at it this way. You start up your car and the battery's low, it's going to jump up to 15, 16 volts. So, whatever's in that car can take it. So, all right. Now, what I might do, I will do actually. I will put. Let's turn this off and unplug it so I don't short anything out while I'm bullshitting with you guys. What I may do is put some resistance in here. Oh, wrong way. Yeah, okay. If I take this line, I can put some resistance in here to bring it down. And the same with this one. Now I really wouldn't want to go much lower because I have the new one, and the new one does everything I need it to do. But at that point, this one I'd leave alone. This one I can put a either a variable or a switch with a couple of resistors on it. The problem being is I haven't got the right variable. Now this is a push-pull. So it's a push-pull meaning on-off or different pots. Pull it out, it's on. Push it in, it's off. When I pull it out and it's on, these are variable, so I can adjust this by turning it. Almost like a volume control. Push it in, it's off. Or it could be off and I can still use this. So when it's on, I can have it working on one thing that has to be turned on. Or when it's off, I can have it working on something else that doesn't have to have power. You follow me? So they call that a push-pull. I used to have an old DAC. DAC is an old CB radio that was like a gutless wonder. It was a nice radio. They had the 9 and the 10. The 10 was the sideband unit. And what would happen, well, not what would happen, is the radio was big. I mean, the face on this radio must have been at least that wide. And I'm looking at about 18 to 20 inches. And it stood up 10 to 12 inches, and it was 12 inches deep. It was a big radio. And it had a tube transmitter in it. Everything else was a transistor. A tube transmitter. Hey, Lance, you want a curly? Okay, hold on. There you go. There you go. There's 3 for the big boy. You can lay in here if you want. And what I did was, I wanted to, it had what they call an O2A chip. O2A was the processor, which controlled the channels. Well, you take an O2A chip, and you cut a leg, you add a jumper, you know, look up O2A conversions, you'll see what I'm talking about. And you can go from a 40 channel up to 104, or 40 channels below 1. So you had a lot of private, well, not so much private channels, but those channels weren't used, so there wasn't a lot of noise on them. Now, some of those channels were allocated for something else. Some of the higher channels were more for amateur radio, but there was that bank that just nobody used. Even though they were allocated, nobody ever used them. So a lot of us on CB would make that conversion so we can go up into those other channels where there isn't that many people. And what was happening is, and if you think about it, it's kind of, but yet there's other reasons. So don't hold this one thing that I'm saying as being the word, because there's other reasons. However, most of the noise on a radio is from interference, and some, well, not most of it, but noise on a radio is interference, and a lot of it is interference from other people talking. If you think about it, if you're standing in a room with 100 people and there's just 2 people talking, I can hear you clearly. But the more people that start to talk, the louder the noise level gets. And then it gets to a point that you can't hear anybody. All you hear is a lot of noise. And that's kind of what happens on CB. The more involved they got, the more people that started talking, the higher the noise would go. The higher the noise would go, the less the distance you'd get out, and it'd just be one thing after another. Now that's just a reason. That's a good analogy, I guess you would want to call it. You know, I noticed since I haven't been working, my vocabulary has gone to shit because I don't use it as much. You know, when I was dealing with corporate presidents, you know, and you know, high-ranked people, and you know, your vocabulary kind of fits into that. But when you get away from it and you start hanging around with truck drivers, you know, and there's nothing wrong with them, but you know what I mean. Things tend to change a little bit. However, that's kind of how it works. So by going up into these other channels where there wasn't a lot of people up there, because not a lot of people had the conversion, and where a lot of people went up there to start with, because they weren't aware of it, or because it was illegal, even though it wasn't, you know, that type of thing. It was always quieter, which was nice. Alright, I gotta put a lockdown on that. I need to put a lockdown on that. So let me get one of those. Yeah, I'll use that. I gotta call 2 people today. I called the sounding, which is the paper, and got nobody except for their mail. Sorry, but I am presently busy. Yeah, whatever. There we go with the vocabulary. Busy. And unable to get to the phone. Leave a detailed message, and I will get back to you. Okay. I left a 1 minute, because I don't want to just rattle on, because time is important, and I don't want them to sit there and listen to me rattle on when they can call me and we can talk. So I left them a 1 minute detailed message. I stated my name in the beginning, spelt it out, gave my number slowly in the beginning, and at the end, my name and number again. Well, I still haven't heard from them. So, what is their problem? Typical, I don't want to do my job, idiots. I don't know if you heard that or not, but I rolled my foot across like a piece of wire casing. All right, hold on a minute. I gotta get the screw. It's going to fit in there. Now that vocabulary I still remember quite well. Yeah, you know the one, because I was just going to say it again. The Italian part of me. Did this screw fit? That'd be perfect. Perfect if it did. Yeah, it looks like it does. Okay. Good. So anyway, I got to call up the paper again. And then I'm going to call up the, I got to call Canada. Yes, my brother's up there in Canada. Because I got to order more material. And I want to talk to him about it this time. Because last time they were supposed to take care of me, and they didn't. And I told them that I was not happy buying something and paying full suggested retail. Where if I had a friend of mine in Canada buy it for me, I would have paid half the price. And the shipping was the same, so it doesn't make a difference on the shipping. Even though that was high. Cost me almost the same amount of what the product cost me for the shipping. How does they expect you to do any business with other countries, especially our neighboring our country, our brother country, you know, if you're going to rip them off on shipping because it's going over the line. I'm going to try one of those too. It's going over the line, so let's just rip them off. Here's another another spam call. No, another phone. Hello. Yeah. Hey, I was just talking about you. Yeah, I was just getting ready to call you up and start screaming. Where the hell is she? Well, that was the newspaper, the one I was telling you about. She apologized for not getting back to me because it was Wednesday when I called. But after we started talking, she actually wants to do a whole story, but using me as the headline. Person of the week, or person of the month, or person of the whatever. I told her, well, you know, can we use the squad? You know, I mean, because it's not just me. She goes, well, we need a face. You know, we need a person. He says, well, seeing that I'm the captain, I guess I'm the person. So we're going to meet with her on a Monday and take it from there. So that's out of the way. So now, who I need to call? Who do you call? No, not Ghostbusters. Rush Check. I bought 2 cases of each. And I bought this because Steve Robbs, the Canadian with the 2 first names, had done a little review on this stuff a couple of years back. And I said, you know what? That stuff looks good. It really does. So this is the first one I was actually looking at. And then after I got a hold of him and I started talking to him, he says, you may want this one as well. So I believe his name was Angelo, which was like the sales rep for Canada or the company. And I says, wait a minute, that's Italian. What the hell is an Italian doing in Canada? Because well, I've been here since I was 3 years old. He says, I know. Anyway, nice guy. So I bought a case of each, or actually 2 cases of each. I don't remember now. All I know is I'm down to 3 cans of this and 2 cans of this. I gave some of it away. It is good stuff. However, when I got it, I didn't think I was going to be paying what I paid for it. They charged me $14 and change a can, when it should have been actually under $7, but at least $7. And then shipping on it was $70, I think it was. I did a video on it. Again, I don't remember, but the shipping was almost as much than the product. So, but one of these is a coating, which is the one that Steve was talking about. The other one is a inhibitor. It's more of a loose, watery type, where it seeps down and in and goes through the cracks and crevices, and it prevents it from happening. This one protects it. This gives you that heavy coating, almost like an undercoating. So I gotta call them. Let me leave this can out. I got the name and number down here someplace, but certain things I say organized on, other things I think I'm organized on, until you find out that you're not. Alright, this is done. So I'm just going to wrap this up like it is until I decide to do something with it. So let me put that like that, and let me get a piece of cordage just to kind of hold this together. You know what, I can use a couple wire ties. I gotta buy new ones anyway. These wire ties suck. They were advertising them as I think 80 pounds, but by no means are these 80 pounds. Again, another eBay product. So okay, power supply. Let's put this over here. Yeah, should I? Yeah, why not? Put it right there. Okay. That's done, guys. This is that computer, so that's somewhat done. Actually, I got to do something on the bottom of this because it's kind of wobbly. But for now, I'll just put a little shim under it. Does that help? That no, it doesn't really. I need a little bit bigger shim. Bigger shim. What you talking about, Willis? Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is see if it'll run these programs. So let's start with a disk. And this is the FT891, which is a Yaesu HF unit. I should actually put this in the computer that's in the truck because the Yaesu is also in the truck, and I can use it for fast programming. And the computer in the truck is a little bit faster than this one. A little bit, just a little bit. Okay. Hold on, guys.